Chapter 3: The History of Modern Money, from the Bank of England to the Debt-Based System. Part 1: Historical Context. England in the late 17th century. Modern money didn't just appear, it was born out of necessity during a time of crisis. In the late 1600s, England had just gone through the Glorious Revolution. King James II had been replaced by William III and Mary II. But peace didn't last long. War with France soon broke out, and the English government was financially exhausted. They needed to fund a powerful navy and army, but raising taxes was deeply unpopular, and borrowing from foreign lenders was politically dangerous. Then came a radical new idea. What if they created an institution that could fund the government, and at the same time give birth to a whole new kind of money? Part 2: Founding of the Bank of England, a financial turning point. That idea became reality in 1694. The Bank of England was established when a group of private investors, led by Scottish merchant William Paterson, lent the government £1.2 million. In return, they received exclusive rights to issue paper money. But this money wasn't backed by gold or silver. It was backed by government bonds. Essentially, the government promised to repay the debt using future tax revenue. So these paper notes became a symbol, not of metal in a vault, but of trust in the government's ability to collect and repay. That was the moment money shifted, from something physical to something conceptual, from metal to credit. Part 3: Government debt as money, taxation as collateral. Every note printed by the Bank of England was really a piece of government debt. And behind that debt, the power to tax. If you held a pound note, what you actually held was a claim on the government's future tax income. The real guarantee wasn't gold, it was the machinery of the state. But most people didn't see it that way. They just saw paper. They trusted the money without realizing it was backed not by coins, but by obligation. Part 4: Fractional reserve banking, the money multiplier. The story didn't end with government debt. The Bank of England's money began to circulate and multiply. Here's how it worked. Commercial banks kept only a fraction of customer deposits on hand, maybe 10%. The rest? They loaned it out. If you deposited £100, the bank would keep £10 and lend out £90. That £90 would be spent, deposited somewhere else, and 90% of it loaned out again. The process repeated, over and over. This system created more money than physically existed. It was called fractional reserve banking, and it became the beating heart of modern finance. Part 5: The expansion of the London Exchange. By 1801, the London Stock Exchange had taken shape, not just as a place to trade company shares, but as a marketplace for government debt. Britain's expanding empire and industrial revolution needed vast amounts of capital. The exchange became the bridge, helping turn printed money into real-world power, railroads, ships, colonies, and global influence. Part 6: Money and markets, a symbiotic bond. As central banks printed more money, markets expanded. Prices climbed. Investors poured in, expecting more growth. And the system kept feeding itself. It wasn't always stable. There were crashes and panics. But belief held the whole thing together. As long as people had faith, the system survived. Part 7: The philosophy of debt-based money. Debt-backed money wasn't just a technical change, it was a philosophical shift. Money no longer needed to be gold or silver. It could be trust, structured into bonds, backed by taxes, shaped by government promises. Power no longer sat in vaults, it sat on balance sheets. But this kind of power is fragile. If trust collapses, the whole structure collapses with it. Part 8: The legacy of debt money. Since 1694, the model spread across the world. Today, countries don't fund themselves by mining gold. They borrow. Central banks create money not from production, but from confidence. The cost is passed to the public through taxes, rising asset prices, and inflation. Modern money isn't metal, it's belief. A promise pulled from thin air, held up by trust, and maintained by institutions you can't see.